And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And on the line with us is Alex Kotch. Alex is an independent reporter. His website is Alex Kotch, K-O-T-C, Alex, excuse me, A-L-E-X, K-O-T-C-H .pressfolios.com. And he's written a brilliant piece. I was just so impressed by this. The Arizona, the Koch Brothers personal free market sandbox. Alex, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me, in fact, I should say, Dr. Kotch, you have a PhD as well.
That's right.
And your website, and you can be tweeted at Alex, A-L-E-X-K-O-T-C-H, at Alex Kotch. So what are the Koch brothers up to in Arizona?
Well, they're up to quite a lot, Tom. And most recently, it's funding of higher education programs in free market economics. So they've started off, with giving money to universities. They're also funding elections at the state legislative level, at the governor level, to elect politicians who are sympathetic to their agenda. And all the while, the think tanks, many of the think tanks that they have are either linked to or help fund directly, are pushing their agenda items as well. So it's a pretty wide network of Koch influence in the state.
So what are those agenda items?
Well, globally speaking, it's anti-tax policies, it's anti-regulatory policies, and pushing their sort of free market philosophy in the schools. So what happens is, they fund a free market center at the University of Arizona or Arizona State University. A lot of those professors who are kind of coming out of the educational donation network of the Charles Koch Foundation are pushing some of those policies on their students and in policy papers, which then some think tanks will take and kind of repackage into more policy proposals, which often make their way into the legislative hands. For example, there's a Doug Ducey is the governor of Arizona. One of his agenda items is opening up the area that neighbors the Grand Canyon to uranium mining, which is something that the Koch Industries are very eager to do. And so we have authors from various groups connected to the Kochs, including some economics professors at universities, are writing policy papers that support this agenda.
Jeez. This is part of the actually, I think back during the Reagan era, this was called the wise use movement, and basically it was, let's privatize our national parks so that we can turn them into open pit mines and oil wells. This is a new version of that, I'm guessing. Go ahead.
Well, right, and actually, if you're talking about the Reagan era, actually in the late 1970s, even before that, we had Charles Koch and his right-hand man, Richard Fink, devised this very plan I kind of just described, called the structure of social change, where they begin by funding universities. Then the think tanks take up the papers that the academics write, and then the social welfare nonprofits like Americans for Prosperity, which is founded by the Kochs, will take kind of the repackaged material from the think tanks, like the Cato Institute, for example, and then push that onto the American people and into state legislatures and the federal government.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a student at one of the universities in Arizona. And I go to a class that I think is just a basic econ class or a basic civics class. I've got to get my college credits, not knowing that the professor was paid for by the Kochs, that the class was created by the Kochs, and that I'm going to get a shovel load of, shall we say, propaganda. Am I accurately characterizing the reality on the ground now in Arizona?
I'm not entirely sure, from the student perspective, but generally these donations do get a press release by the university, for example, when they're founded. The three centers that are going to be getting $5 million annually now from the state Arizona budget were initially founded with a lot of money from the Kochs and from a couple other kind of big shot donors in the Koch network, such as Randy Kendricks. but I don't think it's terribly apparent, every class what, a college freshman is really going to do the research and find out, this particular class may have been indirectly funded by a Charles Koch grant from 2012 or something like that. So I do think that, that's part of the reason I do this investigative journalism, is to try to spread the word as to where the money's coming from and who's influencing professorships and curriculums.
So the students may or may not know that somehow the Kochs had something to do with the class that they're taking. What is being taught in these classes?
Well, I think it's generally free market economics. Taxes are bad. Regulations inhibit business. And these are philosophies that would greatly benefit the Koch Industries. Koch Industries is one of the major polluters, so they benefit from a lack of environmental regulation. Of course, the Kochs and a lot of their rich allies prefer to not pay high taxes or any taxes, frankly, at all. So I think these are some of the few examples of libertarian tenets of economic philosophy that are being taught at a lot of these centers. And I must say, there's 3 of these centers in Arizona. There's over 50 centers across the country that were initially Koch funded that are essentially teaching the same stuff.
But Arizona is the most captive of the states in terms of the Koch control of the political system as well as the educational system?
I'd certainly say it's one of them. If we're going to look at some other states that have similar Koch influence, Wisconsin, for example, the Kochs put a ton of money into Governor Scott Walker's 2010 campaign. They gave to the Republican Governors Association, which put more money into that election. Americans for Prosperity, which is founded by the Kochs, put $10 million into Walker's recall election effort a couple of years later, boosting his policies through advertising. And then at the same time, the Charles Koch Foundation has given $200,000 to Beloit College, $133,000 to the University of Wisconsin at Madison. The same thing in Kansas. It's again they're funding Sam Brownback's campaigns, the governor there, state legislative elections. They're helping right-wing conservatives win seats there. At the same time, they're donating money to Kansas University, Kansas State, Fort Hays State, Friends University, and the list goes on. So this is a model that they're attempting to use in every state, but especially states that lean to the right. So
far, we have Arizona, Wisconsin. I don't know is Paul LePage just a Tea Party crackpot, or has he been helped by the Koch brothers' money also up in Maine?
I haven't looked into Maine directly, but certainly I think some of those governors like LePage and like Rick Scott in Florida are far to the right, and I think probably governors that the Kochs.
Rick Snyder in Michigan, what's his name in Indiana?
Right.
Drawing a blank on his name, I'm sorry.
Is it Mike Pence? Yeah.
Mike Pence, that's right.
So this, I can't personally say because I do a state-by-state, analysis, and I just focus on Arizona. But I think this is a model that seems to be working for them, and they're going to continue doing it. Just last week, to add to this discussion, Montana State University, the economics department there, applied for an $8 million grant from the Charles Koch Foundation to, lo and behold, found the Free Market Center. This is a university where Charles Koch has already donated about $75,000. And the Kochs, again, are politically active in that state. They've advertised against state Supreme Court candidates. They've pressured lawmakers against expanding Medicaid. So, again, we have this kind of multi-part model of funding university economics programs, funding state elections, and then kind of having the two work together to do their bidding.
This is exactly what Vice President Henry Wallace warned us about in 1944, the merger of corporate and state activity. It's amazing. Alex Kotch, you're doing brilliant work, my friend. Independent reporter Alex Kotch, pressfolios.com, and you can tweet him at his name. Thanks so much for being with us today.
I really appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for having me.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.